At a certain point, I've just concluded that for me personally, it is important for me to go ahead and affirm that I think same-sex couples should be able to get married.
Welcome back to Inside City Hall. That was President Obama making history yesterday by throwing his support behind same-sex marriage. The president was under mounting pressure this week to clarify his stance on the issue. But with amendments in more than 24 states, including some crucial swing states, banning same-sex marriage, could the president's declaration hurt his re-election bid come November? Here to offer their thoughts on how the gay marriage debate could affect this year's race for the White House are Gregory T. Angelo, he is chairman of the Log Cabin Republicans of New York State, and Richard Socarides, who is a former advisor to President Clinton and a longtime gay rights advocate. Welcome to both of you. Good to see you.
Thanks very much, Aaron.
Thanks for having us.
Let me start with you, Richard. When I heard the president's statement, I immediately began to think, well, is there a law that he's going to back? Is there an executive order he's going to issue? And the more I thought about it, he seemed to be throwing this back to the states. And as we just mentioned, more than half the states ban same-sex marriage. Why does it really matter?
Well, I think it matters because the president leads us can lead us in a national conversation and help build consensus around this important issue. I mean, we're having a national discussion about this issue, and we're having a discussion about it right here, right? So people are talking about it, and the president is the leader of our country. We hope that he will show leadership, and when important issues come up that we're debating as a country, I think it's important for the president to take a stand and to tell us what he thinks, and most importantly, as he did yesterday, share with us his reasoning. He had a discussion with his family, had a discussion with his wife and his kids. He obviously discussed it with his advisors also. Presidents make political decisions. But I think in sharing with us how he came to his decision, he'll help lead a national conversation on this. There are, a lot that he has done already to advance the cause of equality for lesbians and gay men. So I think he's taken some concrete actions, but in this particular instance, I think he's leading a national conversation on this issue.
And what is your sense? Meaningful or symbolic?
Yeah, I want to start by saying that this
meaningful and symbolic, right?
Well, I will say that I am in agreement. This is a good thing to happen. In fact, I will say that I found it even refreshing when the president declared his opinion. I found it was refreshing because it was the first time he actually declared his support of a conservative principle, the support of families. Now, if only he would declare his support and evolve on issues like health care and taxes and jobs, he might have a shot at winning the White House back in November. However, I will say that there was some calculation that was involved with this statement, and that's really where the pushback from Log Cabin Republicans comes in, and that this was a statement that was rolled out, and there was timing on this, and it was timing that was especially unfortunate considering that there was a vote in North Carolina that took place on Tuesday evening. So it was a day late and a dollar short on his support.
Well, in fact, let me read this. This is a statement from your national director.
Sure.
And he said very vehemently, Log Cabin Republicans appreciate that President Obama has finally come in line with leaders like Vice President Dick Cheney on this issue, but LGBT Americans are right to be angry that this calculated announcement comes too late to be of any use to the people of North Carolina or any of the other states that have addressed this issue on his watch. After his campaign's ridiculous contortions to deny support for marriage equality this week, he does not deserve praise for an announcement that comes a day late and a dollar short. And I sense that Richard wants to react to that.
That's a talking point. I think that, what can I say? I think that this was an important leadership moment. I think trying to say, well, we're glad that he said it, but trying to criticize him around the edges. I mean, I think I have a lot of respect for the work that the Log Cabin people do, and I think there are a lot of fair-minded Republicans, and I think there are a lot of fair-minded gay Republicans. So, we can agree on important issues, but I think that statement was kind of ridiculous.
Well, what about, I'm sure there are Democrats who feel the same way, that look, if there's a fight going on and you say you're on one side of the fight, get into the fight.
Don't join it the day after. I think what that statement refers to is the primary election we had in North Carolina on Tuesday, where there was an amendment to the state constitution that was successful, an anti-gay amendment. The president had opposed that amendment and had announced his opposition to the amendment. I think with the benefit of hindsight, perhaps had he come out on this a little sooner, would it have helped? I don't know. That amendment lost by 20 points. I mean, what this shows is that this issue in this country is still kind of a 50-50 issue, you know. So in some places we're going to do better than we're going to do in other places. But that is, you know, I think that's right. I think that's a good argument for the president's leadership. But we're happy that he's moved forward now. I mean, this is obviously, everybody is entitled to their journey on this issue. I guess that's my main point. My main point is that, you know, people don't start supporting same-sex marriage. You know, people have to understand it and come to an understanding, and the president, like everybody else in politics and everybody in life, is entitled to their journey on this issue. And you know, I think that going forward we ought to appreciate that he's arrived at a place where I think he can be helpful to the national discussion and not so much criticize the process. I mean, you know, you can criticize the process, but you like where it's ended up.
Sure, yeah, but this is we're not talking about policy decisions here. We're talking about someone's journey, and it's a journey that actually happens to involve my rights as a gay man and your rights as a gay man and the rights of all gay Americans. And you can roll out a policy decision. Obama, in his remarks, had said that he had come to this conclusion days ago, certainly long before he called for this interview. He just felt that the timing was right now. In fact, the DNC was holding off on this announcement until before the convention. So the fact that they decided to do it now is indicative of the fact that, yes, they are playing politics with your rights and my rights.
Well,
that's the pushback.
Let's not be shocked that in the course of a presidential campaign, politics might be involved. Let me ask you, though, I mean, the Republican candidate, or the likely Republican nominee, Mitt Romney, his journey has either not yet begun or has ended, and it has ended with a call for no same-sex marriage anywhere.
Well, I will say, he's flip-flopped just as much as Obama has on this issue. And the fact is that Romney's position is unfortunate. It's something that we're in communication with his campaign right now. I will point out, it's one of the reasons why it's important to have gay Republicans, and one of the reasons why Log Cabin Republicans is effective, and we continue to work in Washington with the Republican Party to achieve Republican victories and ensure equal rights for gay Americans within the Republican Party and throughout the country. So, you know, that is one issue. It's one issue right now that we are in disagreement with Governor Romney on, but we agree on many other issues.
Your organization also put out a statement saying that to fight Obama over this issue would be a losing proposition for Republicans. Why is that?
Correct. Yeah, it's as Governor Romney said today, that this is a very sensitive issue. It's a very sensitive issue to a lot of people, and I think it's noteworthy to point out that the governor understands this, that this is an issue that is not a bread and butter issue to most Americans. Americans are focused on the economy, and that's something that we can debate and we can talk about. But in terms of marriage, it's a sensitive issue, and it's not one that is going to win votes. I don't know if it's necessarily an issue that's going to push people to the polls. It might keep people away from it.
Richard, didn't the opposite strategy at least get attempted in 2004? When President Bush was running for re-election, they went and got various amendments on the ballot all over the country to try and draw out a conservative base, and he ended up winning that election.
Right.
It's not clear whether or not it helped.
I mean, I think that a lot has been written about that, about the Republican effort to put some anti-gay initiatives in some key states that would bring out social conservatives. But I'd be interested, you know, if the Log Cabin group is going to support Mr. Romney. I mean, you know, you can criticize President Obama all you like for being slow to come to this position. You like where he's ended up, but you know, the Republican nominee is not going to end up here. I mean, he said today that he would be for civil unions so long as they didn't convey any rights. You know, he had Mr. Grinnell, who he hired and then they froze out and who had to resign just because of his sexual orientation. I mean, I don't see how you can support him now going forward, so I think you're left in a little bit of a sticky position, right? I mean, I hope you would consider supporting Mr. Obama.
Well, you know, first of all, I'll say that as Log Cabin Republicans, we, through our bylaws, only endorse and support Republicans. Now, our individual members are free to vote however they like, and it's not a unilateral decision by me, and certainly not by the New York State organization at all. We have a national board and a national executive director, and the national organization takes soundings from its local chapters on how they feel. And as I said, we are not a single issue organization. Marriage is something that is very important to us. Equal rights is something that is very important to us. But so is strong national defense, so is tax equity, so is health care access for gay and lesbian individuals as well.
You talked a little bit a while ago about your rights as a gay man, and I've got a question, and I know it's partly a strategic question, partly a philosophical question. I'd love to hear both of you on this. If this is about civil rights, if the right to marry is a civil rights or even a human right issue, why put it to a vote? Either in a referendum or as you know,
that's
a presidential vote.
That's an excellent question. These issues should not be put to a vote. Issues relating to individual liberties, liberties guaranteed by the Constitution, should not be put to popular vote. And that's why some of these court cases that are working their way through the federal court system now are so important. And I think that probably next year or the year after, we will have a ruling from the U.S. Supreme Court as to whether or not they believe the federal Constitution guarantees the equal access to the right to marry. And very significantly, President Obama has instructed his Justice Department to support those challenges, to support the challenges to those laws, and to take positions that would favor the recognition of a right to marry, an equal right to marry in the federal Constitution. So, part of that you alluded to in your first question, the president saying, well, that he thinks individual states should be able to decide this. I think what that was a reference to the fact that he believes that this has traditionally been a state issue. Like we did in New York State last June, New York decided that they wanted to grant marriage equality to all its citizens. I think that was an important turning point, an amazing moment for Governor Cuomo, who was our new governor, that everybody celebrated here. And we saw, when that happened, and nothing bad happened. We didn't run out of marriage licenses. The state has welcomed it, really embraced it. I think everybody's quite happy about it. But so when President Obama talks about individual states being able to make decisions for themselves, I think that's what he was alluding to. But more significantly, on the federal level, the Justice Department, the Attorney General Eric Holder, have taken the position that that gay people cannot be discriminated against based on the federal Constitution.
Gregory,
yes,
the idea of putting your rights to a vote.
Yeah, this is one of those times when Richard and I see eye to eye, but we see eye to eye for perhaps different reasons. I feel that the gay marriage and same-sex marriage is a difficult issue. It's a challenging issue. It's an issue that elected officials have to wrestle with. And to be frank, this is what we pay them for. This is what we elect them for. We elect individuals to make difficult decisions. And I think it would be ridiculous and frankly a betrayal of our democracy if every time a politician had to make a difficult decision, they just threw their arms up in the air and said, well, we have to have a referendum on this. It's the only thing we can do. We elect individuals to make difficult decisions. Individuals do make difficult decisions. And I would point out that we had marriage equality pass in New York last year with Republican support. In fact, it was the first time same-sex marriage had passed in a Republican-controlled legislature.
Okay, very good. We're going to leave it right there. Thanks so much for your time, for shedding light on this issue. We're going to talk again soon, I hope. Coming up, he's been quietly running for mayor for more than 2 years. We're going to ask Bill Thompson how he plans to get back into the public spotlight as he prepares for the 2013 mayoral election. Later on, we'll ask City Councilman Eric DeLon about why he wants to defeat longtime Congresswoman Nydia Velázquez in this June's Democratic primary. Stay with us.